Welcome to the presentation that will cover line spacing, paragraph alignment, and tabs and indents. So all four paragraphs are exactly the same. And if you were to check what the default paragraph settings are, you can click the little paragraph dialog box launcher, and you can be anywhere in the paragraph. You do not have to select it. And then it'll tell you that the alignment is left, the outline level is body text, the indentation from the left or right are at 0, meaning it's at the left and right margins. There's no special tabs, no indents. Spacing, this is where we have the default setting for anyone that opens a Word document, will have no extra space before, but 8 points after. And then the multiple spacing, it's not single, it's 1.08. So this is a preview right here of what's happening within your current paragraph. So for example, this bold part is the paragraph sample. And if I wanted to add more space before the paragraph, I'm just going to increase it quite a bit so you can see the difference. See how much space it's giving you above the paragraph, and this would be after the paragraph. So if you want more space before or after. So I'm going to change that back to 8 points, the default setting, and go back to before, which is 0. So the extra spacing between the lines, 1.08, is to give you more white space between each line so it's easier to read. And then when you end a paragraph and before a new one starts, you still get that 1.08 spacing and an extra 8 points. So I'll click OK because I'm keeping it as it is, or I can click cancel, it doesn't matter. So this is the default setting. And if you go back in here, you'll see that it's at 8 points after. Multiple spacing is 1.08. You could also right-click and choose paragraph, and you can get it from here. Same thing. So now I'm going to go to the next paragraph, and we're going to put it in single spacing and no spacing after. So we'll do it, of course, with Microsoft Word. There's always more than one way to do it. So we'll go into here first, and I don't have to select the paragraph. If I put the show hide on, meaning everything that didn't fit in that paragraph at the end of the line automatically wraps to the next line. So when does this paragraph end? After the word food. So everything within this paragraph will take place with the new change, so you don't have to select it. So I'll turn that off. So I'll go into paragraph dialog box launcher. I will remove the 0 after and change the spacing to single, and watch your preview because it'll adjust there. And then go ahead and click OK. So it tightened it up a little bit more. It's not as spacing, the white space is not as visible here in this paragraph. Another way to do it, so I'll undo. I could go into what's called line and paragraph spacing and choose remove space after, and then I can go back into this line spacing and paragraph and choose single. So if I go in here to check, you'll see that it's no spacing after and single space. So I'll click OK. And then I'll do it one more time a different way. I'll go to the line and paragraph spacing to remove the after paragraph. But for single, I'm just going to hold the keyboard control key and press the number 1. And it puts it automatically into single space. Control 1 is single space. And I just have to change this to 0. In this one, the line spacing should be set at 1.5 and no paragraph spacing. So I'll go into the dialog box launcher. I'll change this to 0, and this will be 1.5. You'll see the preview here, and then click OK. So if I go in here just to double check, there it is, no spacing after and 1.5. So another way to do it, I'll undo. And I'll go into the line and paragraph spacing. First I'll choose 1.5, then I'll go right back into the line and paragraph spacing and choose remove space after. And then if I want to check, you should see there's space back after 0 and the line spacing is 1.5. So I'm going to remove that. And the third way to do it is if you just anywhere in this paragraph, Control and 5, the number 5, that's 1.5. I'll go into the line and paragraph spacing and remove the spacing after, and I'll check in here, and it should be 0 and 1.5. In the last paragraph, double spacing, and no spacing after. So I'll go into the paragraph dialog box launcher. This should be 0, and I'll select double, notice it in your preview, and OK. I'll remove that. Again, I can go into here, line and paragraphs, choose 2.0, go back, and remove the spacing after. I'm going to undo that. And one more. In this paragraph, just Control 2, and that's double space. Then go into your line and paragraph and make sure you choose remove space after paragraph, and let's check. 0 before and after, and double space. So just to recap, this is the default setting for anyone that opens a blank new document in Microsoft Word to have the spacing after 8 points and multiple 1.08. For this one, we remove the after. Control 1 will do single space for you, or you can select it through the paragraph dialog box launcher. In the next paragraph, it was 1.5, and that was the shortcut key Control 5. And then if you wanted to check, you'll see that it's 1.5, 0 before and after. And the last paragraph, double space, was Control 2. And you'll see the before and after 0 and double spacing. So that's with line spacing. Now we'll move to alignment. So the same 5 paragraphs. I'm going to go back to the one I just did, because I wanted to show you the find and replace key. If I were to use find, and I'm looking, I used it before for, it should be New England, not New York. And if you look, there'll be 12 results, and you could scan all the results, and you see them all in yellow. So what I want to do is replace them. So I can actually go right here and choose replace, or I can select it from up here. Whenever a dialog box appears, you can always move it around on your screen when you point on the title bar of the dialog box and drag it. So I want it to look for York, but I want it to replace it with England. So it should be New England. And I'm going to go ahead and replace all of them. And it should be 12, because we found 12 Yorks, New Yorks. And there you have. So this one, it only said 9 because of where I wasn't in the document. I was towards the bottom of it. So I have to tell it to go back to the beginning. And then you get a total of 12. So I'll click OK. And close out of here. And if I choose York now, there shouldn't be any matches. But if I choose England, there should be 12. So this is on alignment, and they're all the same 4 paragraphs, and we'll do the find and replace because I have New York instead of New England, but I'll do it a little different the next time. So the default setting is everything is printed at the left-hand side in perfect order. On the right-hand side, you can see it's jagged on all of them. And if you look in the paragraph dialog group, you'll notice that everywhere I click, it's always in the left selection. So we'll leave this one as is, and if you wanted to just take a peek at the paragraph spacing, it's at that default after 8 points and multiple spacing 1.08. So that's the default setting. So this one's fine, left align. Click anywhere in the second one, and again, you don't have to select it because anything within that, where the word wraparound to, you see that enter, everything within that paragraph will be reflected. So I want it center. And this is center, and you'll notice the shortcut key is Control E. And everything is centered from the center of the page. Now the next one, right align, I'm going to select Align Right or Control R. So everything is flush at the right and jagged on the left. And the last one, Justify Alignment, that's like what you would see in newspapers or magazines where they have perfect left and right margins, and that's Align, Justify. So that they're perfectly even, of course not the last line because it's short, but they're perfectly even on both the left and the right. So I'm going to undo those 4. First one is fine as it is, but instead click anywhere in here. Control E is center. It can't be Control C because that's copy. So Control E, Control R, and Control J. Or, there's always more than one way to do it. If you, so we did it from the Home tab in the paragraph group. You could also click, so I'm in the one for center, I could click the dialog box launcher and I could change it from here. So I want it centered, there's my preview, and OK. This one I want right align, and I would choose it from here. This is the more steps, this one. I see just as easy to click that or choose Control J and then justified and OK. So now I'm going to do the find and replace, but instead of being down in this 4th paragraph, I'm going to do Control Home, so it takes me to the very top. This is a good step to follow. That way it's starting to find and replace from the very, very top. So I'm going to go ahead and choose, I already know that there's 12 New York, so if you wanted to type in there into York, you'll see that there's 12. You can click replace from up here in the ribbon, or you can click this down arrow and choose replace, or when you're hovering over it, the shortcut key is Control H. So if I open Control H, it'll open the replace. So look for York and replace it with England. And replace all of them. It should be all 12. Okay, and close. So the next one, we'll be working with tabs and indents. And again, everything is set for the 1.08. So in the very first paragraph, if you wanted to take a peek at the paragraph dialog box launcher, you'll notice the spacing before and after 0 and multiple 1.08. So for this one, what we're going to be working with are tabs and first line indents. So the very first thing you need to do is have your horizontal ruler appear. And with the horizontal ruler, you'll get a vertical ruler. So click View, the View tab, and check Ruler. So you have a horizontal ruler, and then on the left-hand side, your vertical ruler. So this indication, the gray part, is your 1 inch left margin, and this would be your right inch margin. And notice the typing space is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. So 6.5 plus an inch here, 7.5 plus an inch here, 8.5. That's your full width of your paper. So the first one, what you want to do is have your first line indented. And again, there's more than one way to do it. The easiest way is just to press the tab key. Watch your ruler up in the horizontal ruler. Notice the top part of it separates, so that's called first line indent. So that's the easiest way to do it. You could also, from the Home tab, go into Paragraph, and then under Special, choose first line indent. Watch your preview here. It goes in exactly a 1/2 inch. You could increase it if you wanted. So that's one way to do it. And one more way to do it is hover in the ruler over the marker until it says first line indent, and then just hold and drag it to the 1/2 inch marker. So now we'll go into the next one. And again, it'll be the same thing whether you do it by just pressing tab, you go into the paragraph and choose first line indent, or you do it from the in the ruler. So it's your choice. The next one, you want it to indent from the left and the right. So you could choose the paragraph dialog box launcher, and you could increase a 1/2 inch from the left, notice the preview on the bottom, and a 1/2 inch on the right. So it's in a 1/2 on the left and the right, and OK. So it's in even on the 1/2 and left, you can see the markers. So I'm going to undo. You could do it from here, where you bring it in left indent, a whole 1/2 inch, and then a right indent, a 1/2 inch. So 6.5 to 6. Or there's another way to do it from layout, and you can choose left indent a 1/2 inch from the left and the right. So there's 3 ways to do it. And the last one is a hanging indent, which is to have the first line remain at the left and everything else go inside. So I'll go back to paragraph dialog box under special, and there's your hanging. There's your preview. First line stays at the edge and the rest go inside. That's one way to do it. Another way is hover over until it says hanging indent.